why some say the moon? Why choose this as our goal? And they may well ask, why climb the highest mountain? Why 35 years ago, fly the Atlantic? Why does Rice play Texas?
This video is not intended for children. Viewer discretion is advised.
If you haven't already, please like, share, and subscribe. Thank you.
Thank you.
We choose to go to the moon. We choose to go to the moon. We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other things. Not because they are easy, but because they are hard. Because that goal will serve to organize and measure the best of our energies and skills. Because that challenge is one that we're willing to accept, one we are willing to postpone. What was once the furthest outpost of the old frontier of the West will be the furthest outpost on the new frontier of science and space. Houston, your city of Houston, with its manned spacecraft center, will become the heart of a large scientific and engineering community. But if I were to say, my fellow citizens, that we shall send to the moon 240,000 miles away from the control station in Houston, a giant rocket more than 300 feet tall, the length of this football field, made of new metal alloys, some of which have not yet been vetted, capable of standing heat and stretching, several times more than a feather display, fitted together with a precision better than the finest watch, carrying all the effective features from the coast, life, control, communication, food, and survival, on an untried ship, with unknown celestial bodies, and then returning safely to Earth, re-entering the atmosphere at 55,000 miles per hour, causing heat about half that of the temperature of the sun, almost as hot as it is here today, and do all this, and do all this, and do it right, and do it first, before this decade is out, then we must be bold.
We must be bold. Greetings, one and all, and welcome to Mornings of Mischief. I'm your host, Stone Loki. Good morning, everyone, and good morning to everyone on this panel. Purple Valkyrie, Rambling Canuck, Dave, Bob. How are you all this morning?
Good morning. Doing well, thank you.
Good morning all. Doing well. There's still no snow. I'm good.
Good morning, Vietnam. It's 35 degrees here. It's pretty cool.
Oh, yes. I love my Good Morning Vietnams. Good morning, Vietnam! God, I love that. And the fact that I can do that with microphone in front of me, I'm like, I'm living the dream. I'm living the dream. Oh, good morning to everybody out there in chat. Daryl the Derelict, Snorter Poopers Cubier, Andy Masterson, Chris Persia, Mark the Infinitely Tired, Mrs. Canuck, Shane Nolan, Arwen Avalon, the lady Arwen Avalon is here. Pat S. How are you doing, Pat S? Chris Persia. How are you doing? The Wrench of Wrenches. Mark the Infinitely Tired. The Bash Brother of the South. Of course, I see Dave Bob in chat. I see Dave Bob up here. I'm seeing double Dave Bobs.
Can never have enough Dave Bob.
Can never have enough Dave Bob. Mr. CCDB. Good morning, Mr. CCDB. How are you doing? Welcome back, sir. Sit Room. How are you doing, Sit Room? I see Rambling Canuck in there, too. Holy shit. I'm seeing double. Everything. I'm seeing double. Oh, my God. There's Purple Valkyrie. Everybody's in the chat and up here except me. No, wait. I am in there. I'm saying good morning to people. Holy shit.
We're all leading double lives.
We're all leading double lives. No one's who they said they were.
Wait. I can really mind screw. Let me change to history with R&R. Hold on.
You're a meanie. You're a meanie. Nobody is who they said they are. Yeah, right. Anyway, we're the villains.
I was just saying either that we've all got evil twins, but I think it would be good twins in this case.
Yeah, I think so.
Except for me. Psychodorf 9, how are you doing, brother? It's time. And he's throwing out coffee and bacon and steak and eggs. I want some steak and eggs this morning.
That sounds good.
The team get some steak and eggs later in Sugar Dirt, but that's not a good thing. So we're gonna start off talking about Stardust. Stardust is the first episode in this two-part. It's kind of a two-part. It's kind of not. I don't know.
They're related.
They're related. But first, I want to ask the panel something. Do any of y'all know before this what Operation Nayai was?
Well, I did, but I watched the thing when it originally broadcast. But at the time, no.
I did, but I wasn't very well versed in it. I knew of it, but having watched this, I can definitely get a greater appreciation for what happened.
For me, I knew of that. I knew bits of it, but I didn't know the full details. Plus, I knew that they were used for a lot of other things, like tracking, for sure, throughout the years. So,
I knew just a general idea, but I didn't know the specifics.
And PJ over at Orville Nation with $5 super chat says James Morrison, Space Above and Beyond, and also starred in an episode of the Orville, is still supposed to be our guest, but have had a lot of trouble getting him on. That would be amazing.
Nice.
That would be absolutely amazing to get stalked in. PJ, you're so lucky, brother. PJ, guys, if you are not subscribed over at PJ's channel, what are you doing? What are you doing? Go subscribe to PJ. PJ has awesome guests from sci-fi shows. Absolutely awesome guests, whether they're actors, whether they're producers, writers, whatever they are. PJ always has awesome guests over at Orville Nation. Go check him out. And if you are not subscribed, subscribe and ring that bell. Bash that bell. Make sure you get notified when he goes live. That way you can see some of these awesome guests he's got. Thank you.
I'm on the like button.
So we're going to start off with Stardust. Obviously, I've already brought up Operation Nayai. For those of you that do not know, Operation Nayai was the Code Talker program that we had in World War II. Basically, we figured out that there's no books on Navajo. There's no books on the Navajo language. The Germans can't figure it out. It's one of the most complicated languages on Earth. We'll use that to send codes, and we did, and it was successful too.
Yep, that was the first time live real-time code was used during battle situations, to where it was, up to the minute, right there, mostly in the Pacific.
Yeah, and I thought that this worked really well in the context of the show. I just really wish it had been introduced earlier on, so we could get a little bit more kind of context as to the Chigs, because as everybody knows, we're almost at the end of the series. I just wish it had been used sooner.
And it begs the question: how do the Chigs know an ancient Earth language that 99% of the people on Earth don't know?
Yep.
And this is a pretty pivotal plot point that they're adding right at this point.
Yeah.
There's only two episodes left.
Yeah, they're setting up for the last half of this season, which was going to be the end of the series. They only had 12 more episodes to go. So, when they shut the show down, they only had 12 more episodes to go, and that was going to be the end. So you had, 36 episodes to tell a war movie, to tell a story about war in the future. Pat S. says, computers actually know, they know the language. They know the language because they were on Earth. They haven't come out and said so yet. But they know the language because they were on Earth. The showrunners, we'll talk about this more next week, because next week will be the last two episodes, and we'll let all the cats out of the bag. But they know about it because they were on Earth. So,
Yes, and this wasn't the only thing that they used when they talked about operations in World War II. They also talked about Operation Mincemeat as well, which was used by the British. So I actually really like this episode, not just because it was a palate cleanser from what we had last week, which was two very bizarre episodes, but these two were really thoughtful. I thought they were well written, they were well acted. It's like you say, when we get good episodes, we get really good episodes.
Less West.
Yes.
Less West.
Just saying. And a Johnny Cash reference. Can't go wrong with a Johnny Cash.
Yes.
Yeah. And
I remember my
more
friends.
More of the Commodore.
Yes, more Commodore. Absolutely. More Commodore. I remember my friends popping in while I was watching this every once in a while, when it was still new, going, has he found his girlfriend yet? No. He ain't ever going to find his girlfriend. It's never going to happen. Yeah, why couldn't they sacrifice West in the asteroid field? They had to sacrifice the transport in the asteroid field. So the 5/8 get orders that the whole ship gets locked down at the beginning of the show. Before I skip over that, and the officer comes into the Commodore's room and says, "We received a transmission from the ship that's not squawking its identification. They sent this message that reads, what was it, changing lady or some shit like that."
Yes.
And he locks the whole ship down. What was that, Dave Bob?
I said something obscure. The code.
Yeah. Something obscure. It was like charging lady or changing lady, something like that. And he was like, lock everything down. Lock the whole fucking ship down. And the ship lands, and it's a 4-star Marine Corps general who tells the Commodore, "Look, they've been either hacking into our comms. We've got a traitor. We're not sure, but we have a plan to get Operation Roundhammer back on track. And there's only 4 people in the world that know about it. I'm going to tell you some of it. I'm going to let you in on some of it, but that's all I can do, and you can't share it with anybody else." And so he proceeds to tell him, "Hey, we're gonna do this mission. I need the 5/8 for this mission." And they send the 5/8 out with a transport that they don't know is automated.
Mm-hmm.
Telepresence.
Yes, and the 5/8, because they're not being told what's going on, they do what they usually do and investigate on their own.
Yeah.
And they
Fly by the seat
find
of
out
their pants.
exactly, and they find out that they've had, say, like a tracking device, basically, secretly added to all of their hammerheads, which they're not too pleased about.
No.
They take
And
them
they
all
pull theirs out. Yeah.
Yep.
Which
They-
actually, the telepresence and the transport, it couldn't pick them up, so it started firing on them.
And Shane, when they get back, Shane and them make a very good point. Alien devices. You put alien devices we don't know about, on our ships, and then we see them and we remove them. Mm-hmm. They are not in any way, shape, or form responsible for removing them.
Yep. And
because they did not inform them.
Yeah. Basically said, if you don't trust us, how are we supposed to trust you?
Yes.
Yes, and this is kind of a running theme throughout the show. Things happen, the high-ups don't tell them, and it turns out that if they just told them, things would have been a lot easier.
Yeah.
Archer, Colin,
it wouldn't have compromised the mission just to tell them, that they put, some kind of experimental device in there. I mean, what's the harm in that?
It's true. Colin, I thought I recognized her from Jag. I thought she had played in Jag. I was pretty sure, that's that chick from Jag. But I was wrong. She's not in Jag. So.
She was, you talking about the Colonel?
The telepresence chick, yeah.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. She good looking gal, that's for sure.
She was. I did like the scene with her and Hawks in the bar. I thought that was pretty funny.
Yeah.
They send him over to try and get some information out of her, and she completely flips it on him and gives him his entire backstory.
Well, I think they sent him in like a lamb to the slaughter. They knew what was coming.
Pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
Poor Hawks.
Yeah, she dressed him down pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
So the Commodore ends up having another talk about with Ty, has a talk with Ty about the code, and then has another talk with the 4-star about what exactly is going on, and then Shane has a talk with that general about what is going on, because she's like, we don't know shit, you're keeping us in the dark.
Mm-hmm. And I really liked General Ranford. I thought he was a great character. I thought he was very interesting. Another character that I would have liked to have gotten to know sooner in the episodes.
Yep.
If they'd introduced him, I think that would have been really cool.
Yeah, he should have been in episodes before this, because he has a great backstory, being the first 4-star Native American general in the Corps.
Yes, and the story that he tells about one of the people that are going to be used for this mission on the transport, James Darkmoon, I thought that was a really interesting story.
That's what we keep coming back to here, though, guys, and this is why this show was canceled. Honestly, Box did have, I'd say Box halvesied it with him, but Box screwed with the time slot on this show. This was the what was the first episode to air on a Friday? The second episode to air? I don't remember, but whatever it was never in its original time slot until late in its airings. It did not do well. Episodes were shown out of order, but that's all Box's fault. But then you get down to this. Some episodes really sucked and were really out there. Mm-hmm. Some episodes were like home run. It was just they couldn't stop hitting home runs in an episode. And then there were episodes they just struck out every time they came up to bat. That's on the showrunners. The showrunners were doing X-Files and this at the same time.
Yes, and you can see quite a lot of crossover between the writing of the X-Files and this in some of the episodes. It's like they forgot which show they were writing for and just added weird tangents.
Yes. Cycle number 9 with $5 super chat. Get your crew wound up about shenanigans. Then put secret squirrel devices on their birds. What could go wrong?
Yeah.
Those Marines know their vehicle, their cockpit inside. Now, I mean, all they had, it took Shane Vance and 2 seconds to find that little device when she was looking for it.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
With West checking out her ass at the same time.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That was kind of funny.
It's like, what happened to the girlfriend, West?
The girlfriend that has been captured by aliens and is being tortured, kidnapped, probed, whatever you want to say about it.
Still on that mining planet, isn't she?
Mm-hmm.
See what we mean about they set up something and then they completely forget about it, and I think even if we'd continued with this, they wouldn't have gone back to it. It's just one of those loose ends that they wouldn't have tied up.
Mm. Well, we've only got 2 episodes left after this. So, the idea here is to have code written in Navajo. Have this gentleman delivering this message, and the transport gets shot down over Chick Planet. They recover it, and they find the evidence. They find the intelligence, and they think, oh, they're going to do this when we're really not going to do this. We're going to attack them here. So it's going to say, hey, you know what? We're over here, which the British did in World War II. Hey, we're going over here when really we're not going there. We're going over there. We're going to hit them in the blind spot.
There was so much subterfuge during World War II with the rubber tanks and everything up there. You know, like they were going to hit hit the coast further north and everything else with Patton. There was so much subterfuge going on. The Germans, they were really confused, and especially when they found that body with the information in it about them attacking in a different area.
And it was still blood on the beach.
Oh yeah,
Yep.
Yeah.
because there was still the Atlantic Wall.
Which turned out to be as useful as the Maginot Line, but
Well, I think the Maginot Line had less effect than the.
Yeah, they just went around it.
But they do it.
Go through the Ardennes. Okay.
But they end up doing this. They end up going out on a mission, going out with the transport. And they have a big fight with the Chigs. And this man who was executed for possible murder, no one knows, and the general says that no one really knows what happened between this woman and James Darkmoon. But James Darkmoon ends up getting executed, and they use him as the guy transporting this information.
Mm-hmm. And I thought that was a really, really sweet scene. I think Ramford says to them he wanted to give Darkmoon the opportunity to be the hero in death that he couldn't be in life, even though he saw something in him that he, could have been better. He saw himself in this other guy. He went one way, Darkmoon went the other way, and I think he wanted to give him redemption, which I thought was a really interesting take on it.
Yeah, for sure.
It was a touching moment when he was telling Shane about what had happened.
So, guys, if you had to give this episode a rating, what would you give it? We're going to start with Purple, go to Rambling, and then go to Dave, Bob, and then back up to me.
I would give it a 7. I mean, it's night and day compared to the previous episodes that we had. I just wish that this whole idea of, the Navajo language being known had been introduced sooner into the story arc. I think it would have been far more interesting. We would certainly have had more backstory with the Chigs. There wouldn't be so much kind of unknown about them, which it's good. It's great to have this kind of mysterious enemy, but this is such a huge pivotal plot point. And knowing that we haven't got much left of the story, I just wish it had been introduced sooner. And I really would have liked to have known the general sooner as well, because I think he's a really interesting character. I like the relationship he had with Ross. Clearly they're good friends. They go back a long time, and he is somebody that is willing to take control. We find this in the next episode that we're going to talk about as well.
Yeah, and for me, I'd go 7 as well. I mean, you can't go any lower than that for a Johnny Cash reference. It was good, but I agree with Purple. I mean, some of the stuff that's introduced now, you're like, instead of those 2 psychedelic episodes you just had, you could have done something with that. But oh well. Yeah, but it was a solid 7. It didn't blow out of the park, but it didn't have Wes every 5 minutes. So there's a bonus.
I'm actually going to give it an 8, just because of all the historical references and stuff. While not always 100% accurate, at least they tried. And I'm a big history buff on that, especially World War II. Plus, I like the characters that they introduced. The colonel, the general, just it was nice to have that references in there to World War II.
All right. I agree with Purple in the fact that they would do something and then poof, it was either gone or it wasn't introduced until the last possible moment. And then you just kind of forgot about it. I think they were trying to set something up here at the end with this episode. We were supposed to get 12 or 14 more episodes after the next episode, and we only got 2. So we didn't get the last 12. That would have been the end of the story. This should have been expanded on. The fact that they know this language when only 1 or less than 1% of the population on Earth knows this language. There are no books about it. There would be no way they could understand this language. It would be completely alien to them. I use the word alien. But that's the way it was supposed to be. And we don't find out about this till the end.
Yeah, and they state it. I think it's McQueen that says for disinformation to be effective, we'd want the Chigs to be able to crack the code. So why use a code written in a language that, as you say, such a tiny fraction of people on Earth know, unless they were already familiar with it.
And the Commodore hadn't thought of that. You can see on his face, he's like, what the hell you getting at, McQueen? The look he gives him is like, I hadn't thought of that. I hadn't thought of that. Shit. How did the hell do they know Navajo?
Yeah.
Well, you find out in the next episode that everybody kind of looks to Colonel McQueen for military history.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Colin, I think they knew. It's not the Chigs language. It's not the Chigs language, but I think they knew the language because they talked to the Navajo. So they knew the language of the Navajo because they talked to the language of the Navajo.
They're hinting that they were around for thousands of years on Earth.
Yes, they are
Sky
hinting.
gods.
Sky gods, the Navajo sky gods, the Great Spirit. That's the Cherokee. The Cherokee believe in the Great Spirit. Whatever mythology you want to pull it from, they are attempting to say, hey, the aliens knew and were on Earth. The aliens knew the Indians and they were on Earth. So this was a good episode. I liked all the people in it. I didn't have a problem with anybody in it. The actors and actresses in it were great. The story was great. It's just I agree with Purple. It's kind of a little too late. You getting me interested in the end. You're pulling me in more at the end, and I'm like, God, why couldn't more episodes be like this? You've got some great home run episodes that you just nailed it out of the park, and then you've got episodes where I'm like, what the fuck were you on?
Yeah.
Too little, too late.
How much pot and cocaine did you do before you wrote this?
Yes.
I'm not saying it was aliens, but it was aliens.
Yeah.
And yeah, ancient alien bleed over, and they even say that in one of the interviews they did, is that it was ancient alien bleed over from the X-Files. That both shows were in a way connected. So.
Yes, it would be interesting to see had this continued, if there would have been more kind of connections that they tried to set up between the two series.
There is a skeleton of a Chig in an X-File episode. We are going to see a Chig next week, and I believe it may even be the last episode that they did. It might be the episode before that. You are going to see a Chig without the helmet on for the first time. They have a skeleton of a Chig in an episode of the X-Files. So, and I believe that's one of the episodes that happens on the reservation, on a Native American reservation, with Mulder, the one where he's trapped in the
caves.
In the caves or the boxcar, whatever the hell it was. Yeah, it was LDS from Sausalito. Yes, absolutely. He did a little too much LDS at Berkeley. Gracie is pregnant. Anyway, yeah, not enough pot or Coke. Did the job. Okay, so the second episode we're going to talk about is absolutely, positively one of my favorites, and that is Sugar Dirt. In the last episode, the Wind Talker episode, we fooled the enemy. This is going to be, supposed to be anyway, the payoff of that episode with the beginning of Operation Roundhammer, which they've talked about on this show for the last 10 episodes. We're going to initiate Operation Roundhammer. And hit the Chigs hard in their and on their home turf. For half of the show, we have been taking a beating from the Chigs, and the other half we've been setting up this Operation Roundhammer to take the Chigs out. Mm-hmm. To hit the Chigs on their home turf, and that's what we're going to do. The first thing we're going to do is take back an airbase on a planet in Chig territory that the Chigs just threw all kinds of stuff at. What do you guys think about this plan to go in and take back our own air base to launch an offensive from?
It's very World War II-ish.
Yeah.
And the other thing too is this episode and the episode before, there was a lot of D-Day overtones.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
The whole, the soldiers not knowing when it was going to happen, where it was going to happen, but there were rumors flying everywhere. That was the same thing in 44 when they went to cross into Normandy. So it was the same feel.
That's
and
it.
Dean Krantz says, sounds like they are copying the island hopping start of World War II.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Purple.
Oh, I was just saying that's exactly what was happening with the 58th. People are getting wound up. There's speculation flying. There's rumors flying, and people are getting distracted. They know something's about to happen, but because they haven't been given the order or the go-ahead, that's getting people on edge. I thought that was a really interesting way to start the episode.
Well,
When they get down there, their breakfast is steak and eggs, and they all say, "Well, that ain't good."
Yeah. I was just about to say that. Remember how hard it was to get strawberries? Remember how hard it was to get certain things? And then you've got real eggs and steak, real steak.
Yeah.
And they knew immediately we're going down. We're going down we're going down on the mission.
Yep.
They knew immediately this is it. They're giving us real steak and real eggs. We're going to war.
And I think in a way it was a relief to the troops to actually, it's finally happening. They've heard about Operation Roundhammer for so long, it's been delayed. They're getting to the point where the Chigs are outmaneuvering them, they're outclassing them. They just want this huge plan that has been in the works to happen. So I think everybody...
And you also get a sense of the military setup of the Earth at this time too, with all the different nations that are sending in troops. You have the Chinese, you have the Pakistanis.
The Gurkhas.
Yeah.
So Psychodorf 9 brings up an interesting point. If you have space, do you need air bases? They already have space carriers.
Well, it's kind of like anything, the mobile projection or the carriers, while the bases are, where you stockpile everything to supply everything.
Yeah, I think also it was getting back at the Chigs for taking this airstrip as well. It was more this is ours, we're going to get it back, and then we're going to really bring the fight to them.
So they kind of come out of warp at the planet. They come out of FTL, whatever they use, wormhole travel, whatever, and they just bombard the shit out of this planet. And then they send in the troops, and there's no one there. And instead of okay, we'll just sit here and kind of jerk off until something happens, no. If it's empty like that and there's nobody there, something is wrong.
Yes.
Something is
Setup.
very,
Yeah.
very wrong. And one of the generals, of course, is like, why am I not celebrating? You're not celebrating because this is not the way this was supposed to happen. Mm-hmm. And that's when one of the squadrons picks up a blip. They chase it behind a moon. And I'm like, did nobody bother to look behind the moon where the whole fleet could be hiding?
A little long range reconnaissance. Let's not just sneak up on it around the edge of this moon.
I was very disappointed. Very, very disappointed, because if you were going to be commencing an attack with multiple carriers, I mean, you've got a lot of hardware, a lot of manpower, a lot of lives. This is huge, and you didn't check behind the moon in the system.
Yes.
You didn't check behind the moon.
West must have been on intelligence duty.
DJ Ronnie G, they didn't invent sensor drones yet.
Either that or the chicks are just really good at hide and seek.
Yeah. And apparently it was a big enough deal where it took out a carrier without any problem.
Dean Krantz, here's a phrase in the military. Good commanders study strategy. Great commanders understand and use logistics. Short supply chain is better for the Army's fleets involved. That's right. Quicker you can get your supplies, the better. You don't want your men sitting there starving to death like what's about to happen here.
Yep.
Yes.
So,
And this was a a huge number of troops that they sent down to the planet to take back this airstrip. 25,000 troops they sent down to Denios with the wildcards included. So
you lose your scout squadron. Your scout squadron stops replying to signals. And the signal officer's like, oh, they went behind that moon, ma'am. And she's like, all right, full speed ahead. Let's just charge right in there. And I'm like, lady, no. What you do is you contact the other ships and say, hey, I just had a squadron go missing behind a fucking moon.
Yeah,
I need two
right out
more.
here.
Yeah, I need two more. I need two more scout squadrons to scout behind that fucking moon. Everybody get ready, because there could be a fleet behind that.
nope, she went full Captain Janeway on it.
Yeah. Although it would have been funny if they would have said that ain't no moon. That just would have been hilarious. Just saying.
But no, she charges in head first. And by the time the Commodore and the other generals realize what is going on, they are being attacked by a Chig fleet. A full Chig fleet.
And it is massive. They're way outnumbered.
And the Marines are sitting on their asses chatting when they find out that there's a Chig squadron 50 miles. I'm sure Shane says 50 miles out. And by the time they get up and get their helmets on, the Chigs are bombing the runway and blowing up their fighters.
Yeah.
Yeah, she barely gets them to scramble in time.
Yeah, it almost is reminiscent of kind of a Pearl Harbor, where they come in rolling in and just all the planes are destroyed in one pass.
Ugh. So, in the middle of all this shit and all this fighting, they receive intelligence that the Chigs abandon one of their most heavily guarded worlds to come and fight this battle. And the brass actually starts talking about we'll just go there. Let the Chigs follow us. We'll just go there and we'll duke it out.
Well, they first off talked about bringing in the other fleet, to help them out where they were at, and that's what the Commodore wanted to do. But with the intelligence officer coming in, that's when they are all kind of talking it over in there. They make everybody leave the room except, or all the lower class officers leave the room except for McQueen.
Yeah.
And that's when they have their discussion about, tactics and what they're going to do.
And they asked McQueen, "What do you think? You're the tactics buff. You're the greatest fighter pilot we have. What do you think?" And he's like, "It's what I would do. Is go and attack this other world that you could not attack before. Mm-hmm. There was no way. It was too heavily defended. We never in a million years be able to crack it." Suddenly, all of their troops, their fighters, their ships are in this other battle. We can go and take this planet. He says, "Do it." And before I forget, when they initiated this attack, this is one of the coolest things I thought they did. All of the carrier commanders had to initiate with a code, and it was Domino. And I wish they would have allowed him to cuss, because I would have loved to hear him say "Domino, motherfuckers," and hit it off with that. I would have loved to hear that out of Ross. "Domino, motherfucker." Anyway, and so they're going to ditch. They're going to leave the troops on the planet, and they estimate an 80% kill rate. So they estimate that the troop losses are going to be in the 80% range. Mm-hmm. They've got thousands, tens of thousands of people on that planet.
28,000 or something like that.
Yeah, 28,000, and they estimate, and it's going to be worse than that. It's going to be worse than that.
That was the projection. That was the projection before they decided to leave them. Was 80%. Yeah, that was just it in the battle, because they estimated that the Chigs had lost three divisions of their elite troops. When they first took the place.
Yes. Yeah.
But it's what they do, and they leave them, and they tell them, "Hey, there's no help coming. There is no reinforcements. There will be no air support. You are on your own."
They can't even leave them any supply ships. They are literally on their own. Mm.
Yeah, they give them the instructions that while you're not obligated to keep battling, if you do surrender, that's kind of up to you. But they're Marines, so that's not gonna happen.
No, to the last man they're gonna fight. So they go off. The fleet leaves to go off and fight this other battle. And at 1900 hours, what was it? Every week? Was it every day?
I think it's every day.
Every day, 1900 hours.
2 months, for 2 months.
Mm-hmm.
Every day at 1900 hours, Shane sends a message to the fleet. And this is one of the most tear-jerking moments in this show. Just thinking about it, I got upset last night watching this. This comm officer gets aggravated because every day at 1900 hours, this happens. And she's trying to coordinate with the fleet, and she's got Shane in her ear talking about what's happening on the ground there. And she basically tells Shane to shut up. She's like, 5-8, cease your transmission. You're interrupting a battle, and McQueen shuts that bitch down.
Oh, yeah.
He shuts that bitch down, and he gets on the comm, and he's like, 5-8, it's McQueen, good job. And Shane pulls the headphones so that the whole group can hear it. He's like, you're sending us vital intelligence. This battle wouldn't be going the way it is without you. And he's basically sending them a keep fighting, don't stop, you're important message. And when he is done, he turns to that comm officer and he's like, don't you fucking ever talk to my people like that ever again. And I mean, it got me immediately. I was like, motherfucker, because he wants to keep them alive. And the Commodore tells him, as much as you love them, one day that message isn't going to come at 1900 hours. Be prepared for that. They aren't going to send that message at 1900 hours. One day it's just not going to happen.
Yeah, that was a great scene, and it shows both with Shane and with McQueen the importance of keeping a schedule, doing a job. I got emotional as well watching it, feeling like you're still a part of it, even though that you've been abandoned.
So, he tells them Loki needs to go back and add some motherfucker. Oh, thank you, Claude Parrish. I definitely felt that way when I saw that. When I saw McQueen do that, I was like, that's the commanding officer you want. That's the commanding officer you want fighting for you. That's the commanding officer you are honored to serve under. And unfortunately, that's not always the commanding officer you get.
Yep. He actually wanted to stay back with the supply ships and drop in to help, and the Commodore refused his request. He was tore up about it, both of them.
Yeah.
So 2 months into this, and the generals, they're done. They want to quit and walk, and the Commodore isn't having any of it, and he is not having any of it. He is pissed, and they get another message from the 5/8, and the generals want to be done, and the Commodore's like, nope. If we're going down, we're going to go down here, and we're going to go down fighting. We do this or we die. Do or die time, Marines. Yep. We're either devil dogs or we're no one, or we're dead. Devil dogs or death. And they do it. And back on, what was it, Eris? Was it planet Eris?
Yeah.
Back on the planet.
Demios.
Demios. Was Eris in the other one?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
That was the previous episode.
So back on Demios, the 5/8 keeps finding bodies. They keep finding more Marines dead. They're collecting all of their gear, any personal items, and they are now held up in a diner. Now, this diner was next to the airfield at the beginning of the episode. And Wang pulls out a packet of sugar and says, I found this in that drawer, and I wasn't going to tell you about it. I wasn't going to tell any of you about it. I think it's right that we all share a last meal. And he opens it up and he says, lick your finger and up to the first knuckle, put it in, and whatever you keep on your finger is yours. And they all go around and they do it. And they kind of have a last meal together at the diner. They're all worn out. They're all tired. They're done. Mm-hmm. They're done. They just want to be done. And go ahead.
I was just going to say, this episode also shows how good a leader Vanson is. She has done her absolute best by routine to keep the 5/8 together. But they are cracking at this point, like you say.
Yeah. Even after the radio went out like 12 days earlier, and she still goes on there like she's in contact with them for 12 days, trying to give them hope. And when they find out about it, that's when they kind of crack. That's when they really reach the cracking point.
Yeah, because to this point, there's very little food. The supply drops that they are getting, it just doesn't have any ammunition. It doesn't have anything that they really can use.
Foot powder.
Foot powder, exactly. We've got, the title of the episode, Sugar Dirt. One of the supply drops lands and it goes up in flames, and the sugar kind of melts into the dirt, and they eat that, which was really weird.
Yes.
Yeah, and they're eating dirt.
Mm-hmm.
Leia Rose asks, Loki, have you ever seen Ender's Game? Orson Scott Card is my favorite author of all time.
Yep.
Through his faults and through his successes, I have always loved his writing style, and how passionate he is about some of the things he writes about. That is my favorite author, the guy who wrote Ender's Game. So, yes, I have seen and read the novel. Dean Krantz, my first Marine regiment suffered 80% casualties. every camp in Okinawa is named for a Medal of Honor recipient during that battle.
That was a long day at the office.
Yeah.
Archer Colin, I take it that this suddenly open planet was not a trap. It was absolutely. They had shit there too. So,
Yeah.
but they fought and they win, and I was when they're all sitting there having that last meal, they see a light and hear an engine sound, and it's getting closer and it's closer, and they're ready to fight to the death. They pull their knives out. They have no ammo. They're like kneeling and standing there with their knives out, ready to give one last hoorah. Yeah. And McQueen opens the door and he's like, "Sorry to just drop in, but you haven't called." And this is genius. This is wonderful writing. This is the kind of shit that gets you emotional. This is the kind of stuff that makes you go, why didn't they let them finish this? Mm-hmm. The series was done. It was over. It was already over. They knew 4 episodes before this that the show was over. But it was episodes like this that made you go, I want to see the rest of it. I really do. I want to see the rest of it. I want to see how it ends. And we're going to talk about that next week. We're going to talk about that next Friday. We're going to talk about how it was supposed to end. I've got the interview with Morgan and the other one, Morgan and Wong,
yeah,
talking about how the last half of the season was supposed to end and how they were going to shut it down. So. But as far as this episode goes, give me your thoughts, guys. We're going to go around backwards this time. We're going to go Dave, Bob, Canuck, and Purple. So Dave, Bob, start us off. Give me your thoughts on this episode, and if you want a rating, some kind of 1 to 10 rating.
Well, I'll give it an 8 again. I enjoyed the premise of the show. I mean, they tried to tug on the heartstrings just a little too much, but I'll agree that it worked for the most part. The fact that the chicks always seem to be one up on them is something that needs to be explained. It's almost like they're omniscient, but other than that, like I said, very, very emotional episode. And the Commodore and McQueen, they talk through this whole thing about their kids and what their kids are going through, and how if this is supposedly could save up to 1 million lives if this operation goes the way it should, and it shows you, while their heart is out for the people that they left behind, that they're looking at the bigger picture of the world, of the war.
All right. Rambling Canuck.
Well, I'll give it an 8. I'll agree with Dave Bob. For me, I like I like the way the story went. I like the battle. I like McQueen in this one especially because he's the one that goes, "Yeah, we should pull out and go to attack this thing." Meanwhile, it's his men on the field, and he's gritting his teeth as he has to say, but he's picking the right decision. He's just, damn it, I don't want to say this, but oh well, it's the right thing to do. Meanwhile, it's a trap, as it always is. But I also agree with Dave Bob. The fact that they know what they're doing before they do it really needs to be explained. Like in World War II, we knew what was going on before because we could, read the transmissions, and we broke the Enigma code. But they didn't know that. But if they looked a little bit harder, they'd be going, "Why do they always know where our submarines are?" But so some of that should have been explained a little bit more, I think, and they could have done away with the psychedelic episodes and gone into we have a leak, and we could have had a little bit more on that end. But all in all, I thought it was a really good episode because, again, not very much Wes. and more Commodore McQueen. So I really like this episode. Yeah, so I give it an 8.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I'd give it a very strong 8. Like we said before, this is, when they do a good episode, they do a good episode, and this one was especially good. I really liked the premise. The whole idea that it was the needs of the many outweighing the needs of the few, even though it was a terrible decision, and that they got outclassed by the Chigs yet again. And at the end of the episode, they're almost ready to throw in the towel. But it's Ross that says, we've got a job to do. We made this decision. Do it. I thought Shane Vance was probably, this is one of her strongest episodes as well, to see her desperately trying just through routine, day after day, to keep her team together, to keep people, going. And like Canuck said, even after the radio cut out, still doing this day after day, just to kind of keep their hopes up. I thought that worked really well. And I thought Ross had one of the best lines in this as well, where he finally admits, that these are his kids. He didn't want to do it, but it was the right decision, or the decision that made the most sense. He says, when they finally return to the Saratoga, as commander, I feel no need to explain my actions, but as a man, as a human being, I must share my emotions. I've never been more ashamed of myself or more proud of you. I thought that was a great line.
And those lines, that's what made this episode good. It is what made this episode good. Lines like that, lines like, you never call. Though when McQueen gets on the horn and talks to them and chastises that officer, that comms officer, for being a dit, don't ever make them feel unimportant. It's things like that made this show, that made me want to keep watching the show, and made me upset when the show was canceled. And stuff like that was good, whether it was cheese or not.
Yeah, yes, Miss Canuck thought it was cheese.
I'm going to give this episode an 8 as well. If I didn't give the last episode a rating, I'm going to give that one an 8 too. So 8's all around for me. I think Dave Bob did the same thing. I wanted more of this, and if we would have gotten more of this throughout this show, complete cheese. Yes, complete cheese from Mrs. Canuck. We would have gotten more of this from the show. I love this shit. I love this shit. I don't think we would have lost it, but we did. So that is our review for today. I have 2 things I'd like to hit you all up on really quick if I can. Before we get out of here, I will ask each and every one of you if you have something going on later, but give me 1 second. We are going to be giving away this to the top tier members. The giveaway we did last month was never claimed by Mags. So we're going to do a double giveaway. We are going to do this Monday. This is the Transformers Siege War for Cybertron Soundwave. We got the Sound Blaster last month, so we're going to be giving away both of these. I'm not going to open this. I was doing like a quick little toy review before. I'm not going to do that. We're just going to do the giveaways. So if you are a Ice Giant, if you are a Frost Giant in Loki's army, if you're top tier Frost Giant, you are eligible to win this. Everyone from Loki's army up is eligible for the Soundwave. So we will do 2 giveaways on Monday. We'll do the giveaway for this, and we'll do the giveaway for Sound Blasters, since Mags didn't claim it. The other thing I would like to announce is that there is an anniversary this week that some of us may have missed. What anniversaries happened this week, Purple?
Putting me on the spot, boss.
She doesn't know. So later today at 2 p.m., Purple and I are going to have a stream for the anniversary of Blood Omen Legacy of Kain, and we will be playing the original Blood Omen Legacy of Kain on PC on that stream. So we're going to hang out for about an hour and a half, 2 hours. So we'll be hanging out from 2 p.m. Central Standard Time to around 3:30, 4 o'clock, playing the original Blood Omen Legacy of Kain on PC on this channel.
That's amazing. Yes.
So
1st of November, 25th anniversary.
Yes, with the 25th anniversary. So that's what we're going to be doing later today. Do you guys have anything else going on that you would like to share with our chat before we get out of here?
Yeah, I got a couple things, if that's okay.
Go ahead. Shoot.
All right. So tomorrow, as always, I have karaoke, but it's a special karaoke. Tomorrow is the charity karaoke for Miss Canuck. We're doing it for the kids. Last time we raised over $100, so we're hoping that we have a good one. She did reach her goal, but they've set a new one. So we're going to try to see what we can do before the actual 24-hour stream. So tomorrow will be a very special karaoke for the kids. And then next week on History with R&R, we will have at 10:55 on the 11th day, 11th month, the 11th hour, we will have the Remembrance Day ceremony on History with R&R. Loki will be joining us along with a couple others. Also this afternoon at 1 p.m. Central, I will be having Mr. CCDV on History with R&R as he tells us some old war stories that he has, and we're going to kind of make that an ongoing show on History with R&R for the next little while. Every second week, I'm going to have Mr. CCDV on, and he's going to share with us some of the experiences he had. So that should be very good. And then other than that, the regular shows, and we'll go from there.
Awesome. Purple, do you have anything going on?
I do, yeah. We've got the regular morning show coming up in a little bit. I'm going to be joined by Arwen and hopefully the boss as well. And we're going to have a fun show talking about best of or favorite episodes of Firefly. So going to end the week on a high and have some fun.
Heck yeah, I cannot wait. Fireflies, one of my favorite shows. It ended too soon, too, because of Fox!
Always Fox.
Because of Fox. God dang it. Fox News Corporation. All right. Chris Persia said, hold on 1 second. Notified Max about her winning draw. Did she turn it down? She never sent me anything, Chris. She never got back to me at all. So we're gonna go ahead and give that sound blaster to someone in either Loki's army or the Frost Giants. So those are the 2 tiers you've got to be in to win the Soundwave, or the Sound Blaster. Soundwave will be going out just to a Frost Giant alone, and that'll all happen Monday. So guys, if you want a chance at that, be one by Monday, and we'll do it. All right. So if nobody has anything else, we will get out of here. Thank you everyone for being here. Thank you panel for hanging out this morning and being here. I absolutely love getting to do these with you. Next weekend is the end, though. It is the very end. So I don't know what we're going to do after that, but we're going to do something. Everybody take care. Have a great one. Be excellent to each other. And always speak friend to enter.
Thank you. Take care.
Take her easy, folks.
I aim to misbehave.
These videos are tremendous. Like, comment, and subscribe, and hammer that notification bell.